In this video, we will discuss the basic concepts on transistors, and we'll find the difference between the NPN transistor and the PNP transistor. First, I'm going to go over through the definitions, and then I'll maybe show you some examples and some key differences between the two. So let's get started. Now, the first thing we're going to go over are the factors that define a transistor. So, a transistor is basically a semiconductor, which means that it conducts electricity and sometimes it doesn't. This is all because of the internal resistance and the fact that it varies inside, and it depends on the amount of power or the type of power going into the transistor. So while the transistor has one set definition, there are actually two types of transistors that we're going to go over, and these two types are the most common found outside. So these types are NPN and PNP. They are both bipolar semiconductors, which means that they conduct electricity sometimes and they don't the other time. And basically the differences between the two start from the variants of silicon. So NPN has a different variant and PNP has a different variant. More specifically, the NPN one has a P-type silicon and the PNP has an N-type silicon. In both types of transistors, the layout is pretty much the same. So let's go over the layout right now. So on a transistor there are three connectors. One is called the emitter, one is the base, and one is the collector. It's usually in that order, but it depends on how you hold it. Now, to activate both transistors, you have to have a specific requirement. So an NPN transistor activates when there's a positive voltage applied to the base. And the PNP transistor activates when there's a negative voltage on the base. And again, the base is this middle wire right here. Let me add another layer so I can show you. So that is the base. Now, since we discussed schematics heavily in the last video, I'd like to go over the schematics for both NPN and PNP transistors. So let's go on to the next slide. So as you can see here, the NPN schematic is on the left, which I will point out to you in 1 second. It is right here, and the schematic for the PNP transistor is on the right. Now, to activate the NPN transistor, I told you needed a positive energy, and in PNP you needed a negative. So, to be more specific, the base must be at least 0.6 volts more positive than the emitter for the NPN transistor, and must be 0.6 volts more negative for the PNP transistor, which is what I wrote below. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. Again, this was just a short video discussing transistors and connecting it to the last video on schematics. So to give you a brief overview, we discussed how transistors are like semiconductors and how there are two common types of transistors, the NPN and the PNP. We went over the differences, so you can rewind back and look over them if you like. And I went over the schematics for both, and it's going to be a lot of fun to explore both topics, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright.